to see the Jesus Revolution movie the other night, and I feel like it was so good to see that for me personally, because my brother was part of that in North Carolina. And he was in college at East Carolina, and he would come home when I was little, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he would tell me about Jesus. And I fell in love with that Jesus. I wanted that Jesus. I didn't know how to get to him, but I wanted him. And he would tell me things about Jesus that I didn't know. I'd never heard it in the Baptist church growing up. But it was real. It was something different about what he was saying from what I was hearing in Christianity. Even as a little girl, I could tell the difference. And I would go and talk to the pastor about it and ask him about different things. And I asked him basically about being born again. What about speaking in tongues? What about the Spirit? And he was honest enough to say, I don't know. So Jesus did that so that I would not lose that desire for the Spirit that I had learned about as a little girl. And fast forward, I went off to college, and Tim and I met, and I had a lot of questions about things. And I ended up getting the Holy Ghost in 1985, in October of 1985. Tim and I got it the same week. And we were searching for Jesus because in the Christian church that we were part of, the Way International, they lost that looking for Jesus. It was more form. It was just another form of Christianity, and it squelched the Spirit. And so after we were there for a little while, that was when we had gone to New York, and we had all those wonderful touches from Jesus, but nobody else that we knew had experiences like that. I couldn't put that together because I thought that's what Jesus did. I thought Jesus gave experiences like that. And what we found out is there were things in the background that were beyond what we knew was going on. That Jesus didn't let us have any part of any of that. He knew we were hungry for Jesus. So when we got the Holy Ghost and we started living right to the best we knew how, and we would go from one church to another, we went to the Wesleyan church, and they would say, we don't want any of that spirit stuff around here. So we knew, we can't stay there. Because we had the Spirit and we loved the feelings that we were feeling. We loved the experiences. But when you run into a door and there's nobody that loves what you feel and loves and believes that you had a real experience, you can't stay there. And so we ended up going to a charismatic church. And they had the Spirit, but they didn't believe the experiences that we had. And I would open my heart up to some of the people there, particularly the assistant pastor's wife. I told her things I'd never shared with anybody before. I took a chance and I opened up my heart. And right after that, the pastor of the church there told them, the assistant pastor and his wife, you can't have relationships like that where it's real.
What?
He would not let people of the congregation go and spend time with other leadership of the church. Well, that crushed my heart because I had finally gotten to the place I thought, here's somebody with the Spirit I can trust my heart to. And then to have that happen, when she told me that day, I was at her house and I was leaving and she told me, and I sobbed the whole way home, and I said, Jesus, it's happening again. That thing has come in to steal what the real you. Where are you, Jesus? Where are you? I wanted that Jesus that my brother told me about when I was little. And so, meanwhile, Tim had come here. I was pregnant with Jeremiah. I had that sweet little baby Jesus gave us. But I wasn't ready to come here yet. My heart was not not ready to take that. I wasn't ready to open up one more time yet. And so Jesus let me live in that little baby world for those months, and I started seeking him, and I wanted to know how to be led by the Spirit. And as I was praying that, I felt to read Proverbs every day to Jeremiah. He was like 8 months old. So I read Proverbs every day to him, one chapter every day, and I knew it wasn't for him, but Jesus was opening my heart up to prepare us to come out of Christianity like he was doing with Tim. And when I went through it that third time and I got to chapter 7, I think it is, where it talks about the great whore, it was like, oh, that is Christianity. Jesus let me feel that and see that. And then he let me know that Christ was the wisdom of God. And it was like, I'd never been taught that before. That was the Spirit preparing me to come here and to open my heart up one more time. And so when I came, well, let me back up just a little bit. So that we were still in the charismatic church, and Jesus basically kicked us out of that charismatic church because we wanted him. And Tim talked with the pastor about the Trinity and different things, and it did not go over well. And so one day, Christmas, I think it was 1996, Christmas Day 1996, the pastor there stood up in front of the congregation, and he never named names, but who else could it be who didn't believe in the Trinity and that kind of thing? So they put us in a box again, and there's another hurt, and it's like, Jesus, you're closing in on us to squeeze us to get us out, because he knew we wanted to find him. And so after that day, I said, Tim, we're not going back anymore, are we? And he said, no, we're not going back there anymore. But I was crushed. My heart hurt so badly because I didn't know if I could trust anybody anymore. And so when Tim brought me to my first meeting the third week of January, and I sat in the back and I heard you preach, and it was like this something on the inside. I was afraid, but I wanted more. I don't know how to describe it. I was afraid, but I wanted more. So after the Bible study was over, and I was talking to Barbara and Ellen in the back, and Tim was talking to you, John, and Bob. When we were talking back there, they were just asking me questions about myself, and all of a sudden I just felt these tears just flowed from me. And I said, I just want to know what's right. I just want to know Jesus. And you came over, you put your arm around me, and you said, God, show her who you are. Let her know who you are. Let her know the truth. And in all my born-again days, 12 years I'd had the Holy Ghost. I had never felt that before. I had never felt the sincerity. I had never felt that there was somebody Jesus had to watch over my soul. And I knew that this was what I'd been searching for. And when I went home, I said, Jesus, I'm willing to put my eggs, all those eggs in the basket one more time. And I did, and I'm so glad I did. Because we learned here, we found Jesus. We found what we were searching for. He let us find him. And it's worth everything. It's worth whatever you have to give up, whatever correction you go through, whatever you find out who you are. And you fall in love with Jesus, and you fall in love with people. It's worth everything.
Praise God.